Hello and welcome to week 10 of Health 135. We are now in the double digits, which I always feel like is such an exciting time because it means that we have already completed more than half of the class. So what I wanted to do for this week is just quickly recap what we've done so far, and then show you what we're going to be starting on this week. So going back to last week, I thoroughly enjoyed reading your blogs about obesity. It's such a rampant epidemic right now. And I remember reading in one of my classes a statement that kind of struck me because they were talking about the difference between malnutrition and misnourishment. And I really feel like in America, we have more of the misnourishment because what that means is that we're eating too much of the wrong things. So malnutrition, we normally think about those infomercials that we see about feeding children in Africa and they don't have enough food, and yet here in America, we have more than enough food, but children are just eating too many of the wrong things. So I really hope that you took some great resources from your classmates, just kind of again reiterating why obesity is so rampant in America right now and what we as teachers need to be doing in order to help combat this disease. So this week we're going to be moving on to the next unit, but it's still going to kind of bring information from the previous unit in. So this week we're going to be starting on Unit 5, which is going to be the menu planning unit, which is going to cover 2 weeks. So this week you're going to be looking at chapters 15 and 16, which deal with feeding infants, and then a chapter on feeding young children and preschoolers, or toddlers and young children. So this is going to be kind of a great introduction to when I actually go over the menu planning assignment next week. So using the information, all of that nutritional information that you learned about in the previous unit, we're now going to start building on it and talking about healthy practices, healthy feeding practices for infants, toddlers, and young children. So if you look in this week's unit, you're going to find that here we are in the menu planning. And so here's a cute little YouTube video for you. And so you see that our first week of the unit is going to be dealing with chapters 15 and 16. And so if you click on to week 10, here's where you're going to find the PowerPoints for chapters 15 and 16. And so the only weekly assignment that you have for this week is a discussion board. So I just quickly wanted to touch on this because this is a very hot topic, breastfeeding versus formula feeding. So what I want you to do is, using the information from the text as well as any additional outside sources that you find, I want you to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of breastfeeding versus formula feeding, and then give your opinion of which one you think is better and why. But if you notice right here in this note, this really is a very personal topic. I will tell you that when both of my daughters were born, I was not able to breastfeed. My milk never came in. And I actually got a lot of flack from people that I thought were friends because I wasn't breastfeeding, and it really was through no fault of my own. So this is a really sensitive topic for a lot of people. So please remember that we are a community, we are respectful, we are empathetic, and so this really is just meant to kind of bring the research to the forefront, but it is not meant to be a condemnation of what choices people have made. So please remember that when you are responding to your classmates. This really is more for informational purposes about what are documented advantages and disadvantages of breastfeeding and formula feeding. But if you are working with infants and even some toddlers, you're going to run into this issue. And so it's really important for you to have the information to be able, if a parent were to ask you a question, that you would have some of those resources available to them. Most pediatricians take care of this But if you are working with infants, and again, even some toddlers, knowing about healthy milk practices and formula practices, I found out that when it came to formula, that there are a million of them out there, and both of my daughters were very different. So my oldest one had trouble with the regular formula, and she had trouble with the soy formula. And so we ended up with the goat milk formula, which is extremely expensive and only comes in the small cans, not the huge ones that you can get at the grocery store or at Sam's Club. Now, my younger one, she wasn't able to do regular formula, but she could do the soy. And both of them have some food allergies, as I've mentioned before. And so obviously there's a direct correlation between what they were able to tolerate even as infants and what kinds of foods they can tolerate today. So again, please use this just as a time of information and be respectful and encouraging with choices that people have made because, like I said, it was very difficult for me to feel like I was looked down on because I was not able to breastfeed. And people just simply didn't know the reason why. So really that's what this week is going to be all about. It's about the feeding practices of infants and toddlers and young children. So this is going to be great information to use on top of everything that we learned in the previous unit. Again, when I introduced the menu plan for next week. So don't forget to be working on your observation, which is going to be due soon. And also with your observation, don't forget that I need to see somehow your thank you note or thank you email that you sent to the teacher or the director. So I think that's it for this week. So have a great time reading chapters 15 and 16, and I will see you in week 11.